Eric's going to get us started this morning.
Yay.
Okay, please go show us what to do. If you're in the screen.
Okay, today we're going to start with our arms like this and feet like this.
Why do we do that?
Well, because today we're going to be doing side blocks.
So cross them, and then what muscles on the back of your arm do you use? Like triceps?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so straighten your arm and like you're blocking a punch or a kick.
Yeah.
So push your arm straight out to the side. Good. Other one. I see Heather. Good. All those people.
Cool.
Awesome. Nice work, Eric.
Good. Woo.
Oh, there's Charlene and Letty.
Thank you, Merrick.
You're welcome, Nemo.
Thank you, Merrick. That's awesome.
Okay.
Sure. Have a great day.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay, good morning. See if I'm all the way in. Not quite. Okay. Take a moment just to get grounded. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel the breath moving into your body. Feel those rib cage muscles expand. I'll let me mute you all. Okay, I've been playing with some fun stuff, so I hope that comes out today as we continue to do this walk around your body. Very exciting things are happening in my body. I ran down PC Hill. I did not wear a brace all day yesterday in my knee, and I moved kayaks and all kinds of things. So I hope that some of the things that I'm learning will translate to your bodies as well. It's healing. Things are working. So, find that deep grounded breath. And let's take 1 foot forward and 1 foot back. Let's see if I can get all the way in the camera. Into what we call short foot. Now, this position helps with hip disparities because one leg is going forward and one leg is going back, but we're still going to pull on the muscles that cross both the hip and the knee. Now, the thing to pay very close attention to is your back foot, because you can see mine tends to want to go like this, and that outer edge of your back foot needs to be super duper straight. So we're going into knee flexion, so bend your knees a little bit, and then we're actually asking for the ankles to flex, the knees to flex, the pelvis to roll over your thigh bones a little bit, and that should translate all the way up the chain into your shoulders. So it's very important that there's no hands on hips or anything, and I continue to do this as a habit. So just every time, if you do that, let your hands release. And then you're going to take your toes on your front foot and press them into the floor and lift them off the floor. So press and lift, press and lift. And let's do that 20 times. And as you do that, keep checking your back foot that heel's not continuing to slide in, and keep bending more. And as you bend the knees more, the muscles of that cross the hip and the knee are going to pull more, which is going to increase that arch in your lower back. So keep going. And switch legs. Bring your back foot all the way to straight. And you may notice, like, whoa, does one leg want to go way in? Does it stay in alignment with your hip? What wants to happen? This is my leg that likes to go medial. My hip flexor doesn't work as well as it should. And that's indicated because this knee turns this direction when I'm standing. So when I go here, it wants to collapse in a little bit. And then front foot, toes down into the floor and lift. Press and lift. Shoulders relaxing. You may notice that they start to open all by themselves and that the collarbones get wider as you do that. And 20. Good. Switch sides. Ooh. One more time. 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. Check that back foot. Make sure the outer edge of your foot is straight. Then bend those knees. Arms relax down to your sides. And front foot, toes press down into the floor and lift for 20. And you may notice you have a big toe that doesn't work as well, or some of your feet don't work as well as you need to. Your toes have a hard time moving, especially those of us that have crammed our toes for years and years and years into ski boots and then asked the rest of our body to work really hard. That can impact your ability to move your foot, but we want to get those muscles back because it's very important for the entire chain of your body that you have access to those toe muscles. They support your arch, they control the position of your ankle, and therefore that controls what happens up the chain into the knee, into the hip, and all the way up. Good. Second side, second time. 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. Outer edge of the foot pointed straight. Bend that knee. Press, lift. And maybe if that hip starts to engage correctly, that back hip, then maybe the ankle flexes a little bit more. 19 and 20. Good. Both feet pointed straight ahead. Let's take that up that chain a little more. Bring your hands open and then curl your fingers into the golfer's grip. Pull your fingers tight. So we're pulling on all those tendons and muscles that help the wrist and elbow get into good alignment. And then bring your hands up to your temples. Take a deep breath and let your belly relax. Then elbows all the way together so they touch, all the way back. If you're holding your butt tight, relax that also. Elbows all the way together so they touch, and all the way back. See if you can even bring your elbows beyond where you would hit the wall, and keep going, hinging backwards. See if you can squeeze the shoulder blades even more together. One side squeezes more easily in mine than yours, or than the other. How about yours? Elbows all the way together so they touch. Big full breath. Open them up. Squeeze them back. Belly soft, butt soft. All the way together. All the way back. So we're beginning to work into that thoracic back. Again, you should have the ability for that thoracic back to extend all the way. If there's a shoulder that is not extending, maybe it's held forward and down, then your body has to shift to accommodate for that. And if it's being held like that and it's been like that for so long, likely a hip has to go out so that you balance, or maybe your body twists, or maybe the opposite side changes. But there's a pattern that goes up the body, and it may restrict that shoulder from being able to open all the way, and therefore changes the muscles all the way up the upper back into the neck. So 5 more, all the way together, all the way back. Fingers still really tight, thumbs down. And release. Fingers in that same grip. Check your feet. Outer edges of the feet pointed straight ahead. Fold your fingers in, arms by your sides. Bring them up. Pinch your shoulder blades together. Big full breath. Elbows strong. Circle forward. 40 circles. Again, we're asking for that to move all the way up the chain, so soften your belly. Big breath. See if your diaphragm can actually move right now. In through your nose, if you can, if you have access to that, and release. Palms up, backwards, pinching your shoulders, circling backwards. And 40. Excellent. Release, and then come down onto your mat, lying down, feet on the floor, knees bent. Make sure to have your block and your strap with you today. So I'm going to bring you down again into the position that is hook lying. That is the easiest position for your upper back to extend into. And so I just feet on the floor, knees bent. Let's just allow that to settle for a moment. So feel your breath. You should have a slight curve in your low back. So slight space between your lower back and the floor if your body is being held in neutral well. And then we're going to let the shoulders just tuck underneath you just a little bit, assuming that most of us have a touch of rounding in our shoulders. So feel the upper back extend, feel the shoulders move in toward your spine. And then let's go elbows out to the side. About at a 30 degrees, we'll take that most open place in our shoulders. And then let's do those finger presses. You can imagine right now that you have a rubber band around your fingers. And I want you just to open it wide and bring it down. Let's do 10 of those. Open, release. So into the elbow, into the forearms. Relaxing your upper back, relaxing your shoulders. And then pull your fingers tight into that same kind of golfer's grip, fingers curled, and take that into your wrist, and then move into wrist flexion and extensions. And just notice, so this is a problem that I see a lot, is that people will really want to do a yoga class, but when we ask their wrist to be able to extend, the wrist can't even go flat. And then we load it, maybe in a long yoga class, maybe not just one downward dog, and you're loading a wrist that we already knew wasn't able to do the function that we were asking. So in an effort to create less damage and more healing, let's make sure your wrists are working correctly and that the muscles through the forearm into the elbow into the shoulder are all talking to each other. In the same way, we want the muscles from the feet into the knees, into the hips to all talk to each other. So check your wrists, moving them all around, holding those fingers tight, and then let's move it right into your shoulders. Allow your arms to drop out to the side away from you, so full external rotation in the arm bone. Take a breath. And if you need to adjust your shoulders a little more to let that be accommodated, do that, and then go ahead and move into that. Open your shoulders out. Again, you're asking for a little bit of extension all the way up the chain into your head and neck even. Open and back in. 10 times. One more. Great. Then bring your elbows a little higher, and you're going to hold your hands in that same grip, fingers curled, so that it's holding tension through the wrist, and then generate that action into the shoulder and squeeze your shoulder blades together behind your back, in toward your spine, and release. Squeeze and release. We're trying to find the rhomboids and the mid-trap, that place in your back at the bottom edge of your shoulder blade that tends to work incorrectly if your shoulders are a little bit round. So keep going. If you're over a computer all day, then it tends to be rounded in that way. The shoulder blades sit too far from the spine. If you're rotated in some way, maybe one of them sits farther away from your spine than another, and that turns some kind of rotation maybe into your upper back, or maybe all the way down the chain, or they're just working really hard in that position, but they haven't been able to shorten in a long time. So we want to be able to shorten those muscles, find them in your middle back, and then go ahead and stretch your arms up to the sky. Interlace your fingers, strong elbows. Reach your arms all the way up. We're asking for thoracic extension through that whole line, all the way up and back to the ceiling. Strong elbows, all the way up. Big full breath, all the way down, all the way back to the ceiling. Continue. Let's do 10 of these. And then arms opened like in a cactus position for arm glides, letting the wrist and elbow be on the floor, and then move your arms up into an arm glide and back down. Letting the shoulders come underneath you, and then take them up and down. The shoulder blade has to move and rotate as the arms come up, and then come back down. Find that middle back again, rhomboid and mid-trap as you come down, and then bring it up. Breathe and lower. Go ahead and do 10 more. I'm just going to remind you that none of this should hurt. So if this is a position that is painful for you, please skip it and just wait for the next thing. Okay, now we're going to assume that we got a little bit more thoracic extension in your body. So let's take it up over the block. Let's increase the demand. Legs over your block or your chair, and grab your strap in your block. So as your legs go up over the block, we're increasing the angle at the hip, and your low back should go flat to the floor. If your muscles are doing what a human body should when we take you into this level of hip flexion, then your low back muscles should allow your low back to go flat to the floor. And there's quite a bit of extension happening up through your upper back as well. So check your shoulders, collarbones wide, tuck them underneath you if you can. And then I'm going to start with point and flexes. So we're going to start all the way at your feet. I want you to point all the way and then flex. And imagine that you're pulling on a line of fascia and muscles that goes from the big toe all the way up the calf, into the hamstrings, into the glutes, and all the way up to the back of your head. So I might give you this exercise for neck pain, even though we're moving the chain way down at the bottom. And if you have a hip thing, so when you pull your toes back, we also should increase hip flexion, engage some of our hip flexors, then hopefully that changes what's going all the way up into your pelvis. So really pull them back for a second and just feel. Also, a thing to notice here is, do you have better dorsiflexion with one foot than the other? And that would give you an indication that the balance between the right and left is a little bit off. Point all the way, flex all the way. Arms out to the side, shoulders relaxed. The shoulder's job is to just let go right now. 10 more. Point all the way, big toes, even the bottom of your foot. The bottom of your foot has 3 arches. See if you can get all 3 arches to kind of contract and cramp even. Point all the way, the big arch on the inside, the smaller arch on the outside, and the arch across your toes, or right at the base of your toes. Let all of those arches contract right now, and then expand as you open them back up. This is a place where plantar fasciitis, for instance, inflammation of the bottom of the fascia at the foot, happens, in my view, a lot because people lose the intrinsic foot musculature. They lose the ability for these muscles to squeeze, basically, that support the arch. And then you're relying on the fascia, on the connective tissue, to hold your foot in position. And that's not what it's designed to do. So we can brace it, and that would take some pressure off the fascia, but it doesn't turn those big muscles or those foot muscles back on. How many of you feel a big difference between one and the other? Maybe even all the way up into the calf. The ability for it to slide and glide. Okay, now go into your hips. Go ahead and take your block, place it between your knees. So if you have a little bit of a hip disparity, maybe one hip does something different than the other, this is a good position to work on that. So feet up there, low back can be pretty flat to the floor, upper back is gently opening as we continue to do it, and go ahead and squeeze the block at your knees, pinch and release. Find your adductors. Adductors are assistant hip flexors as well as pulling your legs into the center. So when we're in hip flexion and we want some of the right muscles to do their job, we can trigger these assistant muscles a little bit to get it to do what we're asking. Squeeze and release. Big full breaths into your upper back still. 10 more. Find those muscles, make sure they're working. Now, some people are held in flexion with tight abdominals. So some people might not be able to extend their upper back all the way because of the tightness in their abdomen. So we're actually going to use the abdominal muscles, do some crunches, in an effort to get the upper back to continue to extend. So go ahead and take your block away for a moment. Bring your hands behind your head. Look up to the ceiling. And I want you to do 20 straight crunches. Exhale, lift, pull it up there. Use your muscles. Pull your rib cage toward your hip bone. Squeeze those abdominal muscles. Your back can be very flat to the floor right now. We're going into flexion. Go ahead and let it flex and then release it down. Upper back stays open. Squeeze, release. Lift and lower. Exhaling up, inhale to lower. Supporting your head and neck, but that's just going along for the ride. Letting your elbows stay wide and open, getting that thoracic back to extend. Flex the belly, let it open all the way. Lift and lower. I don't know where we're at. Let's go 10 more. And release your arms out to the side. Let's go arms over your head and all the way up, touching the floor. One more time. Let's take 3 full breaths here. Thumbs to the floor, elbows straight, big breaths, low back pretty flat. Expand your ribs out to the side in an east to west direction. Pull on those intercostal muscles and that intercostal cartilage. Do your best to breathe in through your nose if you can. That gives you better access to the lower lobes of your lungs, apparently. One more breath. Awesome. Okay, now we're going to increase that demand one more time. Arms out to the side. Pull your knees into your chest. At some point, your thigh bones are going to hit your hip bones and make your pelvis tip even more back. So go ahead and let that happen. And then I want you to extend your legs all the way up to the ceiling. So as we go into increased hip flexion, we have increased thoracic extension. So arms out to the side. Shoulders tucking underneath you. Reach your feet to the sky. Let's go point and flex 10 times. Is it even through your upper back? Mine's not quite even. Lower back's pretty good. How is it for you? If you have a big ridge in your back because you have the back muscles have an erector disparity, you may feel uneven through there, but hopefully it's starting to come out a little bit. Good. Legs back down, relax them over your block. Okay, now 10 times. Hip flex all the way in. Low back probably is going to go a little more flat. That's okay. Reach your heels to the sky. Press. And then down. Release them back to your block. Good. That's 1. In. Reach. Pull on that whole line of muscles that goes from your toes, down your legs, into your neck, down. Release. Awesome. Go ahead and press that away. And let's move on to our bellies. Fold your hands underneath your forehead. Let your whole upper body relax. It's very, very important that all that work that we just did in the upper back to get it to extend is being used here, and we get that release through the upper back. Then as you bend your knees, we're going to pull on the muscles that cross both the hip and the knee, and it's going to ask your low back to arch. Now, if you have really tight hips or quads, your butt might want to start lifting way off the floor. That's a good indication that some of what we're asking for isn't quite happening. So your body wants to be able to do what you're asking it to do. So take some breaths, lengthen your legs out, and then point your toes a lot. Find those muscles at the bottom of your feet again that cramp between the arches. Big arch, little arch across the toes. And just let your forehead relax, let your upper body relax, relax your belly. Pull your heels as close to your bum as you can. Now ideally, when we measure this, heels should be able to touch the butt. That would be the most ideal position. But if you're way out here, that's fine. Just ask those hamstrings to shorten. Let your low back increase the arch and relax your upper back. Hold it there, pointed toes, find those muscles in the bottom of your feet. We're going to hold this for about 1 minute. Breathe. Relax your quads. Those muscles in the front of your legs that need to lengthen here, let them go. If anybody is working on increasing their knee flexion, this is a place where the lower leg can start to rotate and maybe the knee can move into increased flexion. And let's everybody go point and flex a couple of times here. Just pull on the front and back muscles of the body, adding the balance to the two sides. Relax your shoulders, relax your belly. Maybe lengthen your legs a little bit away from you. And then point one more time. Let's hold 10 seconds here. 10, 9, I'm asking for cramps. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Who can touch their heels to their butt? Is it getting closer? And release it out. Awesome. Pigeon toe your feet, arms out in front of you, hands into fists. Go to that same golfer's grip, fingers curled, palms open, and then rotate your upper arm bone out. If you have 2 blocks and you want to use them, you could put your arms up on blocks. That will increase the amount of extension you're asking for in your shoulder. I have to look that up actually if it's shoulder flexion or extension. Excuse me. But it doesn't matter for this. Rotate those upper arm bones out. Relax your shoulders. Relax your legs. Take a deep breath into your ribs and your lungs and expand. If you can, breathe in and out through your nose. Do that. Let the breath move into your back body a little bit more. Move your arms out to the corners of your mat. Do the same thing. Rotate those upper arm bones back. Continue to breathe as you're pulling your fingers tight, holding your elbows straight, and rotating your upper arm bone outward. See where you feel it. See what can change up the chain into your middle back by this position. And maybe for those of us that are very right-handed, you may feel this through your forearm or through your shoulder. Ideally, your arm bone would just rotate easily and you would feel it into your middle back, but that's definitely not true for everyone. In and out through your nose if you can, full breaths. Or at least in through your nose, out through your mouth. Then arms straight out from your shoulders. Pigeon-toed feet, forehead down, holding them out there. And release. Go ahead and press up onto your hands and knees. Move into cats and dogs, round and arch your back. And then come up to kneeling. So in this kneeling position, relax your belly, relax your butt, open your shoulders. And then I'm going to have you take your hands behind your head, open those shoulders a lot. And then I want you to move over to one side. Inhale, come up, over to the other side. Now, I was doing these facing the wall the other day because my body has something that hasn't come out yet that makes my rib cage want to rotate, not just side to side, but actually twist. So notice if that's happening in your body as well. Do your best to keep it square and facing the wall and doing this, although it's kind of that like go to the wall and you're in trouble position. Can be super beneficial for your body. So, back to that kneeling. And you may just notice when you're in the kneeling, so ideally you would get to be really straight in this position, but you have to be able to do that with your butt and your belly relaxed. And that's different than what we were doing before and in Pilates, because they would say control the position by tucking your tailbone down and opening that up. But in my view, that actually takes away what is necessary for being human, and honoring that you're pulling on the muscles that cross the knee and the hip. And if they're tight, what's going on up the chain that's not letting them relax? Remember, your body wants to do what you're asking it to do, and if it can't, then it means something up the chain is not allowing it, or below, maybe it's lower. So your feet here are in that pointed position. So that pointed position is going to let all those muscles on the bottom of your foot contract up into that arch, which we've been working on in the past. A couple more of these. Open that shoulder. Do your best to just go sideways. Open the rib cage. Breathe in through your nose. And exhale. Big breath in. Exhale. And up. And over to the other side again. Awesome. Cats and dogs once more. Just integrate that, rounding and arching into your body. and then have a seat. So as we come to sitting, sitting is pretty demanding for your pelvis. It requires a lengthening of the hamstrings or back of the legs, and it shortens the low joint position between your hips and pelvis. So when you're sitting like this and you ask to be able to roll your pelvis over your leg bones, it's the most demanding position to do that in. Even, I would argue, more demanding than standing. So if this is difficult just to hold that position, that's true for most people. So move the fleshy part of your sit bones back, feel your sit bones on the floor, and then try to roll your pelvis over your sit bones. Pull your toes back and keep the outer edges of your feet pointed straight ahead, and tighten up your thigh muscles. Good. Now in this, I want you to continue to relax your belly. You can even pull on this fascia, literally like grab what feels like fat or skin and give it a yank so that you can help the whole pelvis roll forward over those thigh bones so that you can get more straight up. Good. And then go ahead and put your hands behind you just to help you stay in that position. Collarbones open, and let's move into our femur rotations. So legs a little bit wider apart, relax your belly, and then all the way together so they touch, and all the way out, finding those deep muscles in your hips, all the way together, all the way out. Continuing to try to roll the pelvis over the top of those thigh bones and let it extend all the way through your upper back. So demand from your pelvis up to your shoulders, and if you do it well, both shoulders should feel like they move back toward your back. And this is a really good place to notice too, if you have one shoulder that wants to hang out like this still, that we didn't quite get the mid and upper back to change, or not quite getting in a good enough position, you could even move back a little bit to try to roll the hips over the head of the femurs a little more so the shoulders could be in better alignment if that was difficult. Take it wider, same thing. Shoulder blades gently pinching, belly soft. Out and in. And wider once more. Flex your feet back, tighten your thighs all the way up that chain. Oh, I just felt my shoulder starting to come forward. Check your shoulders one more time, and then go ahead and bring your legs back together. Okay, we're going to go into flexion this time. So this would be like mimicking a forward fold. So your belly gets to contract because it's a spinal flexor. So reach forward somewhere on your leg, let your shoulders come in, let your shoulders move off your spine, and do now engage your belly. It's a spinal flexor, let's let it work. Take it forward, flex, and breathe. Flex your feet back because they would be flexing if you were standing on the floor. As you increase your forward fold, your ankles have to move more, your hamstrings have to open, and your pelvis has to roll over the top of your thigh bones. And your shoulders get to come apart. And breathe. Keep letting that happen. I'm going to talk through it one more time. The feet flex more, so pull them back. Thighs stay tight. Then pelvis rolls over top of the leg bones till you find your belly muscles that flex your spine. And then maybe you get a little bit farther over your toes. Breathe. Outer edges of the feet straight. Do your best to keep the ankle in good alignment. And then come back to seated. Awesome. Hopefully that's an even better position in the legs. Let's interlace the fingers. We're going to go after that big extension one more time. Flip them over. Hold your legs really strong and steady. Take your arms all the way up. This is extending from your upper back, so elbows strong, all the way up. If you can look up, do it. That's going to be neck extension into thoracic extension, into mid-back extension, into lumbar extension, almost like you're doing a little back bend through your torso, but your legs are still in flexion. Elbows super strong, belly soft. Let that move through your whole back. Breathe. Flex your feet more. And release. Nice job. Okay, onto your side. Upper spinal floor twist. Knees stacking one right on top of the other one. Arms forward. And then open up that upper back. Letting the spine rotate. Deep breath. Letting your ribs move. Keeping your knees and hips stable. This is a lot of pelvic stabilization with mid and upper thoracic rotation. Let that happen. Breathe through it. Exhale. In through your nose. Remember, we have all these cross-body fascia lines here from the hip to the opposite shoulder, in the back, from the back shoulder all the way to the butt. All those fascia lines are stretching. You could even ask again for it to move more by grabbing your skin and giving it a pull so that your body, you're essentially like if you were wearing a fascia suit, you're pulling on that fascia suit to allow the rib cage to move into the position that we're asking for. Or maybe you pull at the level of your shoulder and your pec because that's what's tight, right up here underneath your armpit. And you could pull on that part of the fascia suit. That's usually a really tender kind of stuck place. But you could give it a pull there and then see if you rotate easily. Breathe. In through your nose. Breath into the back lobes of your lungs. Untwist. Other side. Knees and hips stacked. Upper arm coming open. Don't let the lower body move. Slowly let the rib cage come down. Again, if you have a tight fascia suit, I do for sure on this side. I'm going to literally grab the skin, I'll show you actually, and pull on it. Yeah. So that the skin that is stuck around my rib cage gets to have a little bit of movement, and I can see then if my rib cage will move down. And you could do the same thing at your pec. If your arm is having a hard time getting to the floor, you could grab that skin, and that's not very comfortable probably, right around the pec, right underneath the armpit, and give that a pull. And you can move that fascia suit so that that opens more. Double check your knees and hips. Make sure that they're in good alignment. And then let's go back to that breath. In through your nose. Expanding those lower rib lobes. Ugh. And untwist. Feet on the floor, knees bent. Let's do some pelvic tilts. forward and back. Check your shoulders, especially if you have anything that feels a little tweaky in your low back. Make sure your shoulders are back underneath you again so that you have full movement of your spine and you don't have one shoulder sitting farther away from your spine than the other. That will let that flex and extend much more easily, working out any kinks that might be in there. Let your head and neck roll. Maybe that just moved something up into your neck as well. And then go ahead and come onto your hands and knees. I'm going to have you kind of let's push up into a downward dog position. So fingers strong on the floor into a downward dog position, pretty far out. And then I want you to just pull your right foot up a little bit. And I want you to breathe your heels down toward the floor while you use your hands to push into that. Now, you could do a couple like gripping the floor, point with your toes, feet down, because we really want the ankle to be in good alignment to allow for that much flexion. So my knees are coming way over my toes. I'm asking for a ton of dorsiflexion in the ankle. So use your arms to push backwards and just like really use your toes and let that open in the back of that calf and let that ankle move more into dorsiflexion. And if you can check your ankle bones out, the outer ankle bone and the inner ankle bone should be almost straight across from each other, and you should have a good arch in that foot. So that's why gripping your toes down into the floor will help to maintain, just pressing straight down, help to maintain that arch. Good, switch sides. Now, you might even be able to feel it all the way up into the lateral hip. Good, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, sending those heels down toward the earth, toes gripping or pressing down into the floor to increase the movement of the ankle. In and out breaths through your nose, or at least in, out through your mouth. And then up to a forward fold. Feet on the floor, outer edges of the feet straight. Just let your hips fold over. Now, if we've done this well, you'll have better access to your hip flexors, which means that your pelvis will rotate easily over the top of your thigh bones. And then you can start to have that gentle rounding through your spine, spinal flexion where it's supposed to be. And let your head drop all the way. Three more breaths here. And then go ahead and come all the way up. And just feel that. Feel your feet on the floor. Let's do one thing. We're actually going to end in standing today. Feet on the floor, feet pointed straight ahead. Interlace your fingers. Flip your arms over. Take it all the way up. Get full extension all the way up. And then come up onto your toes. Oh, I can't get in the full camera. Good. Elbows straight. You can even look up under your toes and back down. Get that whole line all the way up. Can you stay on your toes? Toes pressing into the floor, big toes down, holding the arch of the foot up the calf, all the way up the line and down, and then go toes out. Same thing. Toes in. That's going to increase that arch through your back. Strong elbows, look up, pigeon-toed, all the way up. Relax your belly. And feet pointed straight ahead, arms down, last ones, big toes really into the floor. Find those muscles that control the arches of your feet. Support the ankle. And then release. Good. Hopefully that feels really balanced. That was, again, a little more of a walkthrough of your body. Take one deep breath together. And release. I'll bring you back around. Since we didn't get a chance to check in earlier, if you want to check in now, please do it. Let's see. Oh, you have to unmute yourself.